Hello everyone and welcome. We are here live on Twitch and YouTube and we are here to talk about the unfinished business. I think that's safe to say. We have quite a packed couch today and joining me to my right, Mod Kelpie, Mod Ryan, Mod Liam, Mod Osborne and Mod Mike. So pleasure to welcome all of you here. Not to put you on the pressure or anything, first time we've got Mod Mike on the stream. So
yeah, hi everybody.
Yeah, it's awesome. So let's just go into it. So obviously on Friday we released the unfinished business video. Sorry, the BTS, 5 minutes long, give or take. I had a lot in there for you to try and talk through.
A lot of patience for watching it through. Yeah.
How was that?
It was fine, yeah. I mean, a lot of people have asked whether or not I was ill or tired or getting increasingly thin, a number of things, but it was fine. It was just because it came from all of our kind of like, collectively, you know, we wanted to show that we were making big changes and that there's no hype to that. It's just a case of we have looked at what's happened over the past 6 months, what we've kind of been doing wrong, and the kind of the opportunities that kind of by taking on unfinished business, which is looking at what the community wants, focus back on the player, things like polling, and getting to the projects that we haven't quite finished or fixed.
It was a pretty long week, wasn't it?
It was a hell of a week. So tired.
Yeah.
I can imagine. I think before we kind of dive into it, I think it was very relieving just to see the initial reception. I think that's safe to say, because we were all here until 7, 8, some people up to 9 on the Friday, where we were literally watching the posts just to see how the reception was going.
I mean, it could have. There are a lot of people who were really hyped for expansions. You know, there was some. We talked about some of the things coming up with like Invention Patch 2 and some of the prospects of having expansion every 3 months. It really excited some people. So we were worried that that this change was going to be too big, too drastic, and very rapid as well. But a lot of people have been really on board, and it looks like we're making the right moves, and we want to keep that going.
All right, so let's just go into it. So obviously, key points to take away from this video. First one, of course, was expansions being halted for the foreseeable future. So let's go into it straight away. So first of all, one, was Menethos considered a failure because of that?
No, I don't think we thought it was a failure. I mean, the Menethos content is really great. It looks beautiful. There's a lot to do. The engagement from players was really strong. I think overall, it's just a case of looking at, you know, how does it affect us in the longer term in terms of what we can deliver and the amount of resource that goes into something like that. And you know, when you combine that with things like, you know, how much effort goes behind the marketing and, you know, and add that all together, it's quite a lot for us to take on. And I think the point was, you know, to be able to do that regularly, like every, you know, 3 or 4 months or every 6 months, it's just, you know, it kind of prevents us doing some of the otother stuff that we think is really important.
I think it's kind of obvious from people who are playing the game that it affected the rest of the game.
Yeah.
Like Menethos was drawing in a lot of people to help, you know, finish it, put content in there and stuff like that. And it did have an impact. There were fewer updates. Some of the updates to some people were considered unfinished. And I think that it probably was felt by the player base, and we were starting to feel it too. And so this movement allows us to kind of really concentrate on really impactful stuff that players will kind of love.
So a couple of things that came up, of course, was why the decision after just one expansion? Why not play it out, see how expansion 2 goes, then make that decision?
We could have done, yeah. We could have. We were talking about a model whereby, you know, we did launch the next expansion. Because there were things that the next expansion might have tried to do that would get subtly different from Menethos. But I think that was our kind of hearts leading our heads. That was just because we had put effort in, because we had done some of those updates. And really, if we were honest, like the investment in terms of marketing for it to work, the investment from all of the teams to come together and do it, and the impact that would have had on our release schedule, like the weekly updates that kind of people come to expect.
I think that was the hardest thing, actually, looking at some of the releases that happened in the first sort of 6 months of the year and saying hand on heart, you know, were they really as good as we wanted them to be? And would we be able to, you know, do a better job on that moving forward? And I think the right thing was to very quickly come to a decision about that. And, you know, I think it's the right one.
Yeah, some people say, as you said, like, is it too quick a decision to make? But the thing is like, Menethos is in the game, and if it does actually have a longer term impact, and actually it was worth doing, we're still open to doing these size of updates.
Yeah, that's a good point.
We can do them again. We're not saying we'll never do an Elf City size update again. It's just for for the immediate future, we're changing our kind of like release strategy.
Yeah, and also for the teams who worked on it, they worked incredibly hard, loads of late nights, and they put in a tremendous amount of effort and love into it. It's it's in nowhere a reflection on the teams that worked
Absolutely.
on it. It's more a case of is it right for RuneScape the game to operate on that kind of model? So yeah, just putting that one out there for the the Titans and everybody else that were involved.
All right, and then of course, the second point in that video, of course, was finishing what we started. Now, what do we mean by this?
Yeah, I'm sure everybody has their list. Those things, that kind of the updates that they've always wanted. That we have some, we promised on RuneFest stage, or sometimes we use inverted commas on promised. Sometimes it's like it's just an option on a poll, but even an option on a poll gets people excited, and there's that kind of people get built up and get an idea of what that update might be and hope for it to come out in the future. And so, yeah, unfinished business is about looking at those things we have promised, looking at those updates that we have launched that do not quite feel complete, and completing them, and generally kind of putting the focus on what the players have been looking for from RuneScape. And so, yeah, we're going to dedicate a period of time. Don't know how long that's going to be. We're going to keep on going until we feel like it's right to stop, but we're just going to focus on getting this unfinished business sorted. Just pause all of the new content, the new systems, all of this new gameplay, and actually look at what we've already got and then kind of polishing it and bring out the stuff we promised.
I mean, I don't think there's ever going to be an end point to that. It's like, when's finished. But, I think it's going to be our priority, certainly, at least for the next 6 months.
Awesome. So I'll go for a couple of things, obviously, they've mentioned during the video. Just anything you want to add in, by all means. So, bank rework.
Yep.
If there's anything.
Do you want us to talk about each one? Or?
I have points here if we want to just talk about them, by all means.
Well, bank rework is still ongoing. I've talked plenty of times in the past that bank rework is a big project. It continues to be a big project. There's a lot of engine work that goes into it. There's a lot of content work that goes into it.
I mean, they're at the point where it's a lot of stuff that maybe you won't. The annoying thing is so much of it won't be noticed. If we would put it in the game now, you wouldn't notice it. We've got spoofing sorted now. We've got the kind of the client and the server kind of.
You're talking technical. Oh, my goodness.
So the bank is going to be able to, like, when you're moving from client to server, because they'll have a kind of common use base, common base, code base. So you can move between them, and it'll be absolutely speedy, completely efficient. So there won't be the drops.
The initial.
Whenever you open a bank, so it'll be far speedier. So all of this is a basis on which we're going to build a lot of other things, including placeholders, which is absolutely the headline.
I just want to jump in a second because I'm going to throw this over to you, but the RuneScape survey is now live, so I'm going to throw this over to you so you can talk about this.
Yeah.
What you're expecting.
That's it. It might be a nice one for while you're watching the stream to have the RuneScape survey on a kind of second tab. But this is the equivalent of the annual surveys that we did. Previously, in the past 2 years, that was which big new update, and there was kind of a series of ideas that we've had and players have had. Would you like in game? This is kind of different because it's all under the context of unfinished business. So it's one of those things that we have promised that you would most like. So we want you to rank them. We want you to tell us which ones you want most, because that will then completely change our priority order. We've got this kind of placeholder list of mining, smithing reworks, construction reworks, graphical reworks, that sort of thing. We've got an idea of where they are, but we want to be completely kind of like told otherwise. We want players to kind of reorder that for us. And in the midst of that, there are also kind of completely game-changing questions about things we're doing at the moment. So there's really drilled down questions about mining, smithing, combat, how we do quests, that we're going to take. And once we have all of those answers, we'll have a much better idea of how we handle the next kind of 9 months or so. So I will say it's long, it's like 34 questions or something like that, but it's huge and it's really going to make a difference. Over the coming weeks, we'll probably start revealing some of the results. Certainly at RuneFest, we'll be standing on a stage and telling you kind of how this changes how we work. But this is the big E. Please do get involved because it's going to change everything.
So I use this as an opportunity as well to mention, I believe on July the 28th, is that correct? That's when we're doing our next, what we call progress report, is that correct?
That's it. We've committed to what's most likely going to be news post, probably with video.
Cool.
Telling you the progress on each of those 10 updates, and a little bit more about kind of maybe some polls that are upcoming, just how it is progressing, and to show that we are committed to unfinished business rather than just paying lip service to it, because quite often, I'm sure people have seen in the past, we've made determinations to make changes, we've done initiatives and things like that, and it can feel like they drop off a little bit, but we want to show we're committed.
All right, so we talked about bank rework. Let's talk about mining and smithing. And obviously, if anyone wants to jump in here in regards to that, by all means.
Yeah, mining and smithing is the tough one, and I've seen a lot of people on social kind of complaining, wait a minute, we announced this 4 years ago, why is it still not done? Obviously, there's the caveat. For me, like 4 years ago, we stood on a stage talking about what it would be like to do with mining and smithing. So we didn't quite commit. So to be honest, it's been working in earnest for a year and a half, I would say. The problem that it's hit is that the first iteration, we absolutely had to change it because player response was not strong, was not good on the initial design. That may have been how we communicated or a number of other things. We then did the dev diaries, things like that. The problem that has come up is the sheer size of mining and smithing. This is what we've hit. We time costed it, and it is the length of a huge project, an NXT, that kind of thing. It's something really kind of substantial, because as soon as you change something, you're changing every system in the game. You're changing drops on monsters, you're changing Artisan's Workshop, so many other games and so many systems that layered on each other. So I wanted to kind of apologise that it has taken this long, but we're looking at how we can do mining and smithing with all of that in mind, because absolutely, like, it feels like the core of mining and smithing is the crunching of those tiers. Now, the thing that we're really kind of waiting for at the moment is the survey results. Now, the survey delves into mining and smithing just a little bit more, asks a few more questions. I know that some people are probably a bit impatient. Just ask a few more questions, then that'll help us determine how much of a complete mining and smithing rework is really needed to be done. And so with that, we can go forward and start planning.
Do we see us not going forward until we wait until RuneFest, or do you see that?
We want to know how important it is to people, don't we?
Okay,
and
cool.
You know, just not just that we think it, that we really know it. So
to be fair, we're going to start getting results by the end of today, by tomorrow.
Yeah. Okay.
So we're going to be able to start making moves reasonably soon on what we do alongside mining and smithing. But it seemed like a good opportunity to attach it to the survey.
Yeah,
it does mean that we don't have, teams aren't working on it right now. Like all teams have been given priority on what projects to work on next, sort of thing. So it go into the backlog of other projects, and we'll put it out.
Awesome. The clue scroll overhaul.
Yep. We have a team working on that. It's not the Ninja team. I know previously that we've talked to a Ninja team doing it, but we'll talk later about a number of Ninja kind of team changes and stuff. But yeah, the Titans are picking that up. They're currently in the design phase for that, and we'll be working on that.
Yeah, they're determined to make that as open with players as possible.
Yep.
So there are so many aspects of Clue Scroll that they've already announced. So things like kind of new rewards, new tiers, unique Clue Scrolls, all of these things that we'll be kind of breaking down, doing a little bit of design work on, and then kind of asking individually, do you want it?
Yeah.
So that's all going to come. Definitely involving people.
Dailyscape reductions.
I mean, this is something that we think that we're giving you, especially like the reaction over the last couple of days. It's definitely something that's kind of bumped up the list and stuff. We've got designs for it. We've actually got multiple designs for it, and we need to kind of choose stuff. So we'll speak to you guys about the best things to do. In terms of when we actually get to it, is all this survey will help with that stuff. As I said, kind of like teams all have their next project that they're working on. After that, we have a list of stuff that we can do. The results of the survey will help prioritize that list, and teams will pull out from that based on like stuff that has the highest priority.
Yeah, sorry, go on. I was just going to say, it's just something that we hear it over and over again. We've heard players telling us it's just the commitment of time needed to sort of do all of these things. It's we definitely know it's an issue. So
for so many people, it's just become like log in and do your Dailyscape and then log out, and that's not what we want. Or people set their own objectives. But we've actually got a few designs that were already prepared. It's not going to be like stripping out wholesale loads of D&Ds. It's going to be things like changing dailies to weeklies is one option that we might poll. Another one might be like you get a number of tickets each week that you could decide which of the D&Ds you do. There are so many different options that we've got that are really kind of won't just rip out Wildy Warbands. Don't worry, it's not going to happen.
But make it feel less like a punishment if you miss it, I guess.
It's more about being able to play it within your own time, rather than you have to log in each day to do all these number of things, and as a result, you never actually get to play the content that you actually want to play, that you actually want to engage with, but you feel like, oh no, I still got to do all these things. It's only after like you've spent 5 hours of doing all the daily tasks, you feel like, now I can do that thing I want, and it's like, oh, it's bedtime.
I love the design of the cash bomb and that kind of thing, which is like go to Githixia Cache and you can do all of your month's worth of Githixia Cache in one game. This kind of mega game of Githixia Cache, and and that's it. You've done it. You can't do it anymore for the rest of the
I think
month.
Mod Ryan would like that one.
Yeah, I'd appreciate that.
All right, so next up is Invention Batch 2. So let's just go into it first of all. What does that entail in regards to what it's bringing in?
Do you want to go for it? I'll put you on the spot.
So what does it entail? So we did put out a dev blog, dev diary, to talk about Invention, and then we did take a lot of like player ideas. They were posted on the forums, and I know the guys were going through them, seeing what was there, potentially seeing what the players actually want from Invention as a whole. Don't know what we've necessarily already told.
Well, yeah, I mean, players know that got new devices coming out. We've got machines coming out for kind of, you leave them running, see what they make, kind of thing. But we're also looking to add kind of mechanics beyond level 10 on augmented gear. Told them that as well. There's some things that we can reveal, like I've been talking to Deg. He said that it's absolutely fine to talk about that we're going to be doing a gizmo bag. So it's just kind of tidy up.
Really?
Kind of gizmo
Nice.
work. So that's out there. But there's some really, really good devices. Some that I've even seen this week in the kind of unfinished business stuff, like, I won't go into detail anyway.
What was that?
But there's also the thing that we're changing up with Invention, like the project, is that it's not only about the content, because it was just originally, when it was part of the expansion, it was going to be lots of stuff that fills out Invention. It's not only that. What we're looking to do now is to do a lot of stuff that kind of makes Invention better. And so there's the making tradable augmenters.
Yep, that's one of the big ones.
That's one of the big ones
wow,
for people.
okay.
So that's a big hurdle for me doing any kind of inventing. So I'm so chuffed about that. Inspiration removal. So people just, you unlock something, go do it. There's no real obstacles. Now I'm forgetting stuff.
There's a few quality of life. So like you said, they're trying to make some of the items more tradable so that you don't feel so locked behind. It's more the ability to invent something is down to your level, but it doesn't mean someone can't invent it for you.
Yeah.
So you can sort of like access areas of the skill a lot easier. But I believe there's also something, so there was recently a post talking about dyed items having all the cogs on items.
Yeah.
So they've been looking at making it so that you can essentially take the cogs off, you can toggle it off, so if you don't want to see the cogs on items as well.
Yeah.
Which may sound small, but it's quite a big thing.
Components are complex, the idea of just making that a little bit easier to understand and things like that. I know that off the back of the dev diary, they've actually made a change as well. Some machines, rather than being worldwide, are going to be in the Invention Guild. So if you're interested in the dev diaries and you're following that, then that's one of the changes they've made based on player feedback. But yeah, we're going to... it's something that was... I think you'll see it from a kind of piece of graphic that we've put together. But the main kind of the bulk of the content for Invention Batch 2 is done, but all the fixes we're now getting to now.
So not only is it meant to obviously bridge that gap a little bit and introduce content into pieces that are missing, but it's also meant to kind of make these QOL improvements in certain areas as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
We want the state of Invention after this update to be, aside from obviously it needs to be a reward space, it actually feels complete.
Okay.
And we want it to feel good to play.
Awesome. All right, next up is the achievement system finishing. Obviously, we had a preview of that, I think, last week, if my memory serves me correctly. It's come definitely a long way in its first iteration into its current iteration. It's definitely a lot better.
Yeah.
But I mean, if there's anything you want to add on top of that and what we can expect?
Yeah, so we've been pretty open about what we're doing with the second stage of the achievements. ModSG recently put out a list of the new achievements and combat achievements that we're putting out. So we've gone less.
Really well.
Yeah, we've gone less for the sort of kill count style things. Although there'll be a few in there that are connected to the insane final boss achievement. But mostly it's about changing the way you're playing at these bosses. So killing necks with flowers, I think, was one of them. Things like that.
Of course.
More about that kind of thing. And we've done a massive sweep on the UI and how it looks. And we showed it to you in a stream a little while ago, and that seemed to go down well. Obviously, we're still able to take a little bit of feedback, so I can, when I get back to my desk or tomorrow morning, I can tweet out some more screenshots of what it's looking like these days. But yeah, we've listened to your feedback, and we've been trying to get more information on the screen. We've tidied up the way the information's being presented, and
Player
hopefully,
inspect as
Yeah,
well.
you can
And, yeah,
look at other
player
people's
inspect.
achievements.
yeah, so you can do a quick inspect, just having a look at a summary overview, and you can pin your own favourite achievements up there, so you can show those off to other people. But then you can go in and do a full side-by-side comparison against someone else that's currently online, whether that's in your friends list or just some random that you see wandering past. So, yeah.
Is the name for the score now got a name? Because I believe, is there a name for it?
There is a name. I don't want to know. I don't want to say because we might not have committed to it.
Fair
But
enough.
again, that's something I can.
That's fair.
I can share that tomorrow
Cool.
if we've locked it down.
This one's, I'm very much looking forward to this one. I think this was kind of a sleeper hit at RuneFest when we showed it off, which was the Evil Dave quest, like the little artwork of the Zamorak and Dave picture, which I thought was absolutely incredible.
I love that artwork. Yeah, it's that's now in a position where it's halfway through dev. It's going well. So yeah, that's been taken on by the Ninja team, some of the new guys to the Ninja team. I don't know if you want to talk a little bit more. I mean, you can make sure the comedy's just spot on, kind of GalQuest style.
We had so we did have a sit down discussion the other day, and we got together and we talked about it. And Timbo was going over some of the stuff that's in the quests, and he did have me laughing quite a lot. And it's that sort of very original RuneScape humour within quests, so it's bringing that back, which is really nice.
Yeah, I think Timbo has always been banging the drum about the older school questing, some of the more kind of frivolous, fun quests that we've had in the past that have kind of been lost a little. So, obviously the dark God quest. So he's really bringing it home.
I mean, people have noticed I couldn't open up my bottle of water. But anyway,
Do you need some help?
I was very. I almost got tipped it everywhere. Thank you.
There you go.
Go on.
See, yeah, that was
Do you
the
want me
worry.
to put it in a sippy cup for you?
Oh my! All right. So
Let's Sean out, just in case.
So next up, Graphical reworks, including Sears Village, of course. I think it was about a month and a bit ago, Kelpie, you were on stream showing off the white box version of Sears Village.
Yeah.
How has that been coming along?
It's continued. I mean, we did talk before about how progress had halted whilst we worked on Menethos. So another thing that Menethos impacted. And since the release in Menethos, they picked it back up again, Mod AOB, and he's continued with it. Yeah, I mean, you guys have been working closer with it now than I have, so
Yeah,
but
so
it's continuing to look great from what I've seen.
yeah, he's been going through a lot recently, so it's advanced quite a bit since the white boxing. He's been looking at specific buildings and sort of modelling and texturing those, and we've just been having a few discussions about getting some more. So in Menethos, they have a lot of nice AI functionality where there's a lot more interaction with NPCs, trying to get that sort of stuff into Sis.
So kind of make it feel more, so bring it a bit
More like
to
a,
life.
more like a living.
That's fair.
I did speak to him about Mod AOB, about maybe sharing some more screenshots on Twitter and stuff, so maybe he'll start doing that
chase him
again.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
And another thing that ties into graphical reworks is Witch's House. Do you want to talk about that?
Kind of popped up relatively recently on social media. I think it was top of Reddit and forums for a little while. Was the idea of the Witch's House, because it's smack bang in the middle of the starting experience for a lot of people. It's a bit of an eyesore. It's really odd that it hasn't been updated with Taverny and Burthorpe, and that makes sense. That really does make sense. So we've had a first go, first mapping of it. I think we can show it.
Yeah, we'll bring it up now.
So this is very much early days, but it kind of gives you an idea. So you've got the two new on the left and the two old on the right. And so just make it less of an eyesore in the kind of starter area.
Yeah, so obviously it is, as you mentioned, work in progress, of course. So
Yes.
expected to have a bit more touching up in that sense. But yeah, obviously a clear improvement over the difference that it looks compared to right now, of
Talk about
course.
the other bits.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, we the team are also going through kind of fixing it up to make the actual experience of it, because it's quite an old quest. I think it was one of the first member quests, so it's quite old. They're fixing that up, and also we're looking to make that free to play as well.
Oh,
That sort of
awesome.
thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, combat pets. Obviously, this has been something that's kind of going on as the weeks are going by. Do you want to talk to us about this?
Yeah, well, the polls are ongoing, as you may have seen in game. If not, then you click on the community tab, and the polls are on there. Yeah,
Occasionally stopping and then ongoing.
We did restart them.
That's a test.
after the first
I'll be
week.
honest though. So obviously I was away when that happened. I thought that was really awesome that we did that. And then not only that, then with yesterday's update, of course, we fixed the issue of an option being auto-selected for you and allowing people to skip
There's
as
a
well
lot
if
of
they wanted
things
to.
that I think we've done differently now that we've kind of got this mentality of unfinished business that we would have done differently, in the weeks leading up to Menopause, say. Mm-hmm. So this is one of them. Restarting the polls, as you say, changing the chat functionality on the interface. Or
Well, I did say that, but I'll happily take that
that's
as an
another one.
opportunity.
We've been doing another number of things, and I think we're going to talk about one relatively soon. But another change we're going to make based on player feedback that all falls under that unfinished business.
I'd like to actually, so since you brought up the chat box, actually a very good opportunity to talk about that very quickly. Because obviously we did a status post last week of where we were. I don't know how much more we have to share again that, but I definitely know that the devs are on that.
Yeah, absolutely, and they're working on it now. So feel free to sort of send that around again if people haven't seen it.
Mm-hmm.
But the update to the UI, just taking into account things like some of those options need to be visible. Having them buried under a second click is a bit annoying. So yeah, we'll definitely come back at that properly.
In regards to combat pets, it's probably worth mentioning that after these polls are done, and when we get round to finally working on them, we are looking to run some more polls to answer some more questions with skill pets. But it's mainly to cover some of the things like the titles that we currently give out for owning the pets, just how we want to go about distributing them and see what players think the best option is.
Awesome.
And that's generally like an approach that we want to try and do more of in the future with the polling system. Is you do that more kind of like old school style polls asking you.
But still,
would you like these sort of options and stuff like that? Yeah.
Not lol the troll, more like
lol the troll, yeah.
Yeah.
More lol the troll. Everyone
okay.
loved lol the troll. What are you saying? A whole 31% loved lol the troll, and that's why it's thinking.
Yeah, let's not do that.
And then finally, the 10th one on that list was the Shattered Worlds improvements to basically make it more rewarding and more varied.
Yeah, I think Shattered Worlds is another project where actually the expansion strategy kind of hurt it. The team who are working on it were kind of like, right, we need to get moving on to expansions. So therefore, this is fine, this is good enough, sort of thing. And it was very clear that I think it was very clear from the feedback that we got from the initial response to the response you got a day or so afterwards, that actually there is something there for sure, but it needed some more love, it needed some more time, and so we will be going back to that and giving it that extra time.
It kind of has there's two parts to this. The first one is let's make it rewarding in terms of the anima gained, that sort of thing. I know that having talked to Timbo, who's worked on the rewards for Shattered Worlds, he wants to make it more like 4 hours for the top Slayer mask rather than the dozens and dozens of hours that it is now, and 2 hours for, I can't remember what is it, the emotes or the
abilities.
The abilities, yeah,
that's it, the abilities.
He's been looking at rebalancing quite a lot so that that you feel as if your time is worth something a lot more. But yeah, as you said, on top of that, we are of course looking to go back and try and fit in some extra things we feel were necessary for Shattered Worlds. So it won't just be a rebalance.
Yeah. So the second part of the project is making it more varied. So coming back to it feels more enjoyable. We've been talking all sorts of things that may not make it into there. Kind of mini bosses, changes to mutators or different objectives. I think in particular the different objectives would really make a difference.
I'd agree. However, I would much rather see the rewards kind of have their kind of be balanced accordingly.
Yeah.
And then maybe use that as an opportunity, because obviously adding new bosses and stuff, that's going to take time.
That's it.
As far as I'm aware, in regards to the rewards and stuff, I think Timbo has sent that off to be looked at.
So there were two options. The options that we had, because I know we never want to talk about the B word, about we could release updates in several goes. We had Timbo had finished some rebalancing of the rewards. We could have waited until all of the kind of variances were in a few months' time, or whenever we launch it. Instead, we're just going to get those kind of changes in now, and then the second part of the Shattered World fixes will come later. Hopefully, people understand that. It's just in the kind of transition period.
No, I think that's definitely a better approach, because then there's a bit more life to it then, and then even during that time we might be able to introduce someone else as well then. So
I'm sure we'll still get complaints, and they're probably reasonably valid, but leave it.
All right, so the survey come up again, obviously on the video. I'm going to use this again just to mention it very quickly. You can take part in the big RuneScape survey, of course. The main crux of the results are coming up at RuneFest. That's when, of course, you go onto stage, have a huge screen behind you and start talking about the findings from that survey. But you can definitely go check it out now on RuneScape.com. You'll see a news post, and then you can just get through the survey. I think 34 questions, I believe, is what you've said. Something like that.
But that said, not all of them. Most of them are optional.
Okay.
So,
cool.
but obviously, we would love you to answer as many of them possible.
And
in the chat now.
awesome. And JD, you're gonna pop it in the chat. And obviously, just to mention as well as a clarification. How much of an importance does this survey have when it comes to us and our production, i.e. content and stuff like that?
So in summary, you are helping us determine our backlog for what we work through
Right.
in terms of unfinished business. I mean, that's as simple as that. But it's also helping direct us in terms of design, because there are so many questions in there that like how we deal with combat, quests, skilling, and that's going to determine how we make all of these things.
All right, next up was reaffirming the role of the ninja team. Now, obviously, it has been doubled in size. It was done a few weeks ago, I believe is when you mentioned it in the video. It was done a few weeks ago. So let's go into it. What are the specific aims of doubling the ninja team? What are we hoping to get out of it?
So the idea is to get ninjas back to being ninjas. Lately they've been burdened with, well, not burdened, but they've landed a couple of big projects like the bank rework. It's not a small thing, and tied up a lot of their resources. So by making the team bigger, we can do more of the quality of life stuff, quicker turnaround on fixes, but also keep a few of those sort of high impact, sort of small to medium scale projects, as we call them, going as well. So the idea is to give you guys more of what you want more often. And that's basically it.
Also mentioned as well about polled updates. So what are we doing? What are we hoping to get with these? Then I guess is the key question.
So the polled updates isn't a ninja specific thing. That's just something we want to do across all the teams. We want to make sure that we're doing the right thing for the right people. So it's not necessarily going to be ninjas only going to be doing polls, but where we think there is a decision or a sort of discussion to be had that we don't know the answer to, that's when we'll definitely use polls and things like that. Ninja fixes will continue as normal. If we see something on either social media, the game forums, or Reddit, that everyone's screaming out this is broken, then we'll just do a quick turnaround fix on that kind of thing. It's not the sort of thing we'll poll.
Going to totally use it as an excuse to tell you about the combat pet polls that are on right now. So obviously use that. Feel free to vote in that as well if you haven't already.
The other thing is, so you might have been able to tell I'm no longer lead ninja, what Liam is. So you can tweet him now.
Yeah.
I'm
at Jagex Liam.
Yes, there you go.
Send me the tweets.
I'm now focused on being producer, so which is good because it means there's more focus. Well, Liam is able to give full focus on Ninja.
No, Kelpie's not fired, people.
Yeah.
Come on now. Jeez. Oh, goodness me.
Yeah, actually, this is my final stream. See you later.
No, yeah, but Kelpie going up into producing, which is pretty awesome. So very excited to see what you can do with that for sure.
But I think from my experience, I think like bringing polls in, like from the Ninja side of things, it will be very useful. There was a lot of times when we sit there in our kind of Monday meeting, I've talked about before, where we kind of take all the players' ideas, and there's a lot of times we get like suggestions. It's like, please do this, and it's like, oh, man, it's like hard to judge. It's like, really, should we really be spending our time on doing this?
Yeah.
And I think using the polls to be like, should we spend our time doing this? Because it all adds up and it all takes time. Should we spend our time doing this? Yes or no? And doing those kind of regularly will really benefit in terms of like what the actual Ninja team produce and the quality of fixes. Kind of like a pet peeve of mine is like when you look at the forums and you look at suggestions, you get lots of people just saying, I don't see why not. But they're not actually saying, yes, definitely, I'm going to use this. This will be a great Ninja fix for me. They're just going like, they're not really thinking about the time that goes into it. And they go, yeah, I don't see why not. This would be nice for someone else, not me. I'm not going to use it. It's like, well, is it only the case that the person who created the thread is actually the only person that actually really wants it? That sort of thing.
It's worth also mentioning, that doubling the team size is substantial. So, we had issues in the past, as Liam mentioned, with people being, working on bank rework as such. So we do have now, the team is at this point where we should be able to, produce a lot more of the ninja fixes that a lot of people remember, whilst at the same time, there is still resource to do more substantial, smaller project fixes at the same time.
I think a good example of that.
Smaller projects.
More substantial.
Impact.
Impact.
We keep using the word
impactful.
impact, don't we? I'm overusing it, but it makes sense.
We've also got some mods moving over to the ninja team who are real sort of expert players who are going to guys like Mod Ryan,
Mod
and Mod Ramen, and who are really going to.
I'll be honest, it's quite a stacked team.
Mod Shogun.
It's
What are you saying?
it's a stacked team of.
Yeah,
Thanks.
they're stacked.
But that's no. It's stacked 'cause- no, stacked is in like
Yeah.
the in-game knowledge and stuff like that. Which
Yeah,
for
you're
Ninja is
absolutely
just
right.
what we need.
It was that's a really good choice for a ninja team. There's people who know exactly what the players can anticipate, what players might want. We're really in touch with players as well because you guys are very active socially and stuff. We can grab it all and then do it really quickly too. Get some turnaround, be agile.
Well, something that just came to my mind actually is the Vitalis threshold as well. Obviously, that poll passed. I do know that content job was put in for it today, so we want to get it in game obviously ASAP because it's a poll that has now passed. So we want to take action from that. So just in case anyone wants to ask about that in the chat, so we can take
And
that off the
also
list as well.
worth mentioning the Grand Exchange as well, which
Yes.
one of the teams, the Titans, are looking into doing that as well.
So we are actually looking to
It's up on their board.
take
I've seen it
action
there.
on
They've
that.
got a tick by it and everything, so they're working on that now.
Awesome.
The Vitalis threshold is worth mentioning because of the ninja. Like we said, we want to be as agile as we can. Not only was it put in this morning, we also looked at doing it this morning. So
There we
it
go.
has been done. It just needs code review, the general, go through QA and stuff. But we tried to. We didn't want to get in a situation again where the Grand Exchange, is an example of something that was polled quite a long time ago. We wanted to try and get the turnaround on this, as soon as possible.
Awesome. So actually, I'm going to use this. So we just talked about obviously the team being doubled. I think we saw a real good action from that with yesterday's update because I think some of the updates we got in game were obviously from Ninja. Mod Edge, who obviously recently joined. He has absolutely
He's spot on.
He's done an incredible job because obviously a lot of the updates in there were from him as well as Mod Malaya. Pretty much everyone in Ninja there, but I think that kind of stuff has been sorely missed for sure, and I think that is definitely showing in that sense.
That's
so
what
I'm very excited to see, obviously, as the weeks go by, what more comes in.
there's going to be lots more coming out very soon. It's just going to start flowing now. So. Cool.
Yeah, so actually, we're going to use that to segue over to obviously July's upcoming updates. So obviously we mentioned about achievements part 2. That is still on for July. We talked about how that's going to work. Jagex Liam on his Twitter might be able to get some screenshots of it tomorrow, he said, so keep an eye out for that one. Obviously, we released the Quick Prayers updates yesterday. I can tell you that a lot of feedback has already been taken on board by Mod Edge, and something I'm going to point out right now, what I love. So just to clarify internally here, in the past, community management used to be their own team, and we were kind of away from the devs a little bit. But only very recently we kind of split up into our own team, so we have a CM rep for each team. Now, what this means is that stuff like straight up, like immediate feedback, stuff like the chat box, stuff like the quick prayers, we've been able to jump on straight away and kind of find a nice middle ground that we are happy with as well as the players. And I think that's something that's going to be a massive driving force for us going forward. So I just wanted to mention that because I don't think, obviously players don't know about how that all works. So I thought that was useful to bring up in regards to
and it won't only be reactive after launch as well. What would be really good is you can do things like kind of all that preamble. So like currency pouch, we showed it off. Currency pouch changes, we put that out to players, and we've had a bit of feedback.
God, we actually, I didn't realise how much we've actually done last week. So yeah, the chat box, currency pouch, and the quick prayers.
Yeah.
My goodness.
I mean, it's not about giving ourselves a pat on the back here. It's
No.
it's just that this is the stuff we should be doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so that is that. T92 dice still on for this month. Very excited for that because it just makes the weapons look good. Obviously, we're not expecting the entire community to have it because obviously it's T92 and plus the die, but it looks really, really cool. So I think this is going to be awesome to show off.
We're just to set expectations. We're not doing the Magister
or next
ones at this stage.
Telos.
So this is focused on Telos.
Yes, although we do have jobs working for people to do that stuff.
Super.
So this is the Telos stuff. Yeah.
Okay, so do we want to talk about the aura bag? Because we have some news about that. Okay.
So, well, I don't know if you guys want to talk about it. I can if you want.
You're looking at me? Right. So after the news post went up on Friday, the announcement about the changes to expansions, there was a few posts, talking about the Eurobag, and we agree with some of the feedback that came on, and we do think that what we should be doing is, not releasing it in its current state. Although it is a great update in itself, there are still some issues where people want something else from it, and we don't want to feel as if we don't want to release unfinished content as such. So we took the decision to essentially hold it off for now, do some of the changes that people want, and work through that.
So I'm going to use this as an opportunity to talk about why this doubling of the Ninja team is very useful for us right now, because we're able to kind of pick from a pool of stuff we've done and kind of bring it in. So do we want to talk about what we're doing next to step in the way of that?
Yeah, so although we are taking it out, we are still putting something back in to take its place, to be released this month. This month. So we're replacing it with something that we're calling Earn Improvements. So what this is, it's essentially some quality of life changes to urns, so the current urns that we have in game. So this does include making them, the rune version, stackable, so that they're a lot easier to use. And it also includes adding new urns for new skills, so that you'll be able to utilize those for other skills.
Are we
going to talk about the skills?
Yeah.
See if you remember
them.
Yeah.
Farming.
Farming's one.
Hunter
is one. Divination.
Yep.
Rune
It's like you were
crafting.
involved in a playtest earlier or something.
I get feedback. It's been appointed. They love it.
Sorry, do you want to go through that list again? 'Cause obviously.
Sorry, yeah. So it's farming, hunter, divination, and rune crafting urns.
Okay.
So there will be all 5 tiers. So there's I won't remember this, but there's 5 states for low to high tiers, where I think cracked is the lowest tier and decorated is the highest tier. So we're releasing those for each of them. So they're nice, extra things for each skill.
And I assume, of course, they'll still need runes to charge these new ones.
Same as the current ones.
Awesome. Well, there we go then. And I think that's something that will come in handy and has come in handy already. It's already come into action of what we can do, which is kind of have like the pool of updates that we've done in the time since we've doubled the team and stuff, and be able to pull them in and kind of actually maybe make it better based on it.
Mod
and stuff like
Chaplin,
that.
was it?
Yeah, Mod Chaplin.
Yeah.
Who originally worked on Menopause. He's also, he's great. He's with Evil Dave. He's also got some kind of writing chops.
Yeah,
having worked on Menopause.
He picked up urns, as something that he felt as if there is room for improvements there, and he picked up during the transition to Ninja. Also, there was a question in the chat that's worth mentioning that they are stackable, so you don't have to worry about wasting inventory space anymore. It's quite a big change. Does mean you can go wherever you like in the game now. On a Slayer task can take 100 prayer urns if you want, which is quite a big deal. So
I'm assuming you can take the runecrafting urns into RuneSpan.
Yes.
Oh, there you go then. That'll do nicely. So what else do we have in the pipeline for Ninja, I guess, is the question. Is there anything we want to, anything else we want to kind of get people excited for as well?
Yeah, so we have a few things in the pipeline. Something that we do want to talk about at the moment is we've started to look at bringing back seasonal high scores, but enhancing them a little, trying to get around some of the issues we had in the past, and trying to make them more, it feels more like a competition now, because there was issues that we had with people, sharing accounts and that sort of thing that we had to deal with. But the first set of seasonals that we are looking at doing is introducing ones with now timed high scores. So to mention the first few, we are going to be looking at doing boss high scores. So for a period of time, So for a period of time, we'll be able to compete to see who's got the fastest Raxi time, in a solo fight, or Telos a specific enrage. So we are looking to do that. We have already started some work on that, but we want to get some feedback from the players, see what sorts of high scores they may want. There's all room for doing fastest dungeoneering floors and that sort of thing. Yeah. But yeah, that's one of our things.
Clue scrolls would be awesome. There's things that we don't necessarily have to keep it to combat.
All right. So as a reminder as well, the stuff we talked about on the top 10 list. July 28th, we're looking to do hopefully a news post and a video at the same time, kind of explaining where we are, kind of like a progress update on them. So definitely keep an eye for that. We're going to bring up an image right now, which is the top 10 list. So you guys can check this out in just a moment. So there you go. And that's kind of a progress update so far.
That's slide 1, because there's so many.
Yeah, but what will be really cool here is what we're using this for as well is this is where we are now, and then on the 28th we are
We'll just show
wherever.
progress, so you can get a
exactly.
sense of. It's similar to what we did with State of Play, if you remember that. That was like 5 or 6 years ago, but just kind of give you that sense of progress.
I mean, I think to set kind of expectations, like there'll be some stuff that will move forward because that we're actively working on it. Some stuff will be a lot slower. This kind of top list might change with the schedule. With the survey.
Yeah.
You based on your feedback, what we choose to prioritize. Kind of a lot of this stuff is stuff that we were already doing, which is why you chose to focus on this. I see some questions like, why are you prioritizing like Evil Day, for example, over other stuff? And it's like, well, one, we kind of promised it, but two, it's also we had it half done sort of thing, so it just makes sense that we get that done and out the door before we like start on anything else.
Absolutely.
Didn't realise all the dialogue is done. I thought I knew some dialogue was done. I didn't realise it was all done.
Yeah, I
That's
mean, the dialogue is
pretty
done,
awesome.
but I think they want to do a pass of a kind of...
Yeah, there's a lot of like flavouring and making it feel, like the core dialogue is done, but it's those fine touches.
I love this. I'm finding out new stuff even just from this. This is great.
Your own team.
All right, we have a massive amount of questions to go through. Obviously, it's we're here for another hour plus if needs be. We are going to go through as much as we can. We all
coming in.
right. I'm gonna throw a curveball in here because Dave kept putting it in the chat, and it'd be silly to ignore it. Clans, what's going on?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think we all know clans need some love, doesn't it? Everybody likes clans, and there's a lot to be done there. I don't know, what do you want to say about it?
Clans are in the survey. First of all, it's worth mentioning. So clan permissions is in the large update section, so we want to know how that compares against other stuff. But it's just this kind of vision of RuneScape as a game as being more social, of being more kind of welcoming to a new starter. If there was mentors in clans and things like that. If you default started in the clan, that'd be fantastic. There's so many things that we could do with clans that it can't help but be something that, we dream of doing in the future. So no promises at all. It's just
But tell us, what you think about it. Tell us how much you want it, and we'll take that into account.
All right, here we go. We have obviously we got a lot to go through, so let's just do this. Hi all. What made you feel that expansions like Menethos, which I think was a great and solid update for mid to high level players, were unfinished?
I don't think anywhere we've said it was unfinished.
Mm-hmm.
No. I mean, there is an option in the poll to do more with reputation, do more with shifting teams, maybe add some variants to it. So it wasn't unfinished.
Yeah, everything's done now that we wanted to do. And,
So
do you think
the movement away from expansions wasn't because it was unfinished.
Okay, but do you think that they're saying that because, for example, Magister came out X amount of weeks after the initial release, for example?
Yeah, I mean, we aimed for it all to be part of one release, and the fact that Magister was released a bit afterwards showed that just how kind of like ambitious and that we're trying to be, and how it just kind of it didn't really work in many ways, sort of thing. Again, like what we said earlier, it wasn't on like what the actual team was. It was just the strategy behind it and the amount of resources that it took to try and deliver that sort of stuff.
We just thought that getting this big update, shouting about it and marketing it would mean lots of new players. We mean we still get a release schedule that made people happy. In the meantime, it just didn't quite hit. So really, it was the theory behind it all that was wrong.
All right. Does this mean you'll stop publishing firm forecasts or release dates and just issue updates when they're ready?
Yes.
Yeah, I think this is an important one.
I mean, it's a very crucial part, yes.
It's just about us, not making promises we don't keep and, having to then go back on them. And I just think in the past we've just done that too much. Not deliberately. It's not, anyone's fault in particular. It's just people being, really enthusiastic for what's coming up.
Yeah.
And I just think, we need to just be careful that we really deliver on the things we say we're going to do.
Yeah, as you say, it's like we get excited as you guys really. We get excited about working on stuff, and it's very hard to not talk about stuff that you're really excited for, but we really need to limit ourselves so that we only talk about stuff that we're actively working on, and not just like these, this is a great idea, and then it's actually but it's scheduled in the second half of a year, or it's 8 months away, and it's by the time we get to that, so much changes so quickly that actually you end up kind of going, well, actually we should do these projects and we should do these projects, and we've got different ideas, and it ends up completely changing.
We should be able to do things like what we're doing with expansions, pivot like that without,
And we focus a lot on building out a kind of a schedule for a year at a time, and right, we're going to deliver all these things. And as I said, because things keep on changing, the way we're kind of moving is to actually have one kind of like backlog of projects that will we use the surveys and stuff to gauge player interest and stuff. We look at and we kind of prioritize that, and then so it comes when the team is actually ready to do a project, we take the next kind of relevant project from that backlog, and so like we're actually and that's when we then start looking at it and we can start talking about it with you guys, and you start working on it together.
It's probably, so TAP's a good example, I think, where it's coming to the case where, I mean, I'm guilty of it. There's so many things we want to do that a lot of us talk about them before we've already started on them, and then, you get endless ideas that come up, and you don't know which one, you want to be working on.
Mostly for Mod Ramen.
Yeah, Ramen has a lot of ideas, but it's the sort of thing where it's not to say that we don't want to talk about things, of course, because we want to talk about them as early as we can, to get people's feedback on them, see how they want them to turn out. But yeah, we're just going to tone back on the not saying we're going to do something, if we haven't even started it yet, because it doesn't, because there is that sense of we don't want it to feel like, and we need to basically, I guess, say an idea is an idea as opposed to something that's happening, just to make it more clear, I guess.
But RuneScape, it's a community game, and it's always been about that, and that should be where we really focus our, efforts of what we're doing next, and rather than saying I want to do this because it's my pet project or whatever, it should be what do the community really want, and that's what we should be doing.
All right. So has all of the work on expansion 2 been effectively deleted?
No.
Invention came from that, and there has been some work on other stuff, but that doesn't kind of fit into what we want to do at this time. That doesn't mean we'll go back to it or anything, but yeah,
and there's some stuff that we'll be able to use in other things, and nothing will be wasted.
Awesome. It's been customary every year for the RuneScape team to change up the way they update the game. However, every year we seem to discover halfway through the year that this isn't working. Through discussions you've had with the team, how do you feel this time you have a plan that won't end in the same result?
Since the plan, no, I mean that's brutal, it's savage, but there's
true.
truth
But it's
to
also
it.
true,
Yeah.
We know that.
But I mean, if you look at unfinished business, the focus of it is like proven stuff that is proven to be wanted by the player base, that we know we can do well. I'm not going to say that I can't see how that can go wrong, but I dedicated some time to getting that done well. I think is a sensible move.
I think the difference here, Sean, is you've got to force us to come back here and sit here, on the 28th and then afterwards and keep saying, how are you doing on that? Where are you delivering? And, just keep on.
No, I'm great at pestering. That's my job. That's what I do. And that's why anytime I walk around the office towards someone, they always get a bit panicky because they're like, oh, God, what if I don't know what's going on, etc. That's not the point. But, I think it's safe to say that I think based on my time I've been here, I haven't been here as long as everybody else, but seeing the immediate reaction we've been able to do with the Ninja update, the update we did yesterday, and how responsive we've been on certain issues that have come up in the last week or so, I think have been really awesome.
If you think the alternative is we persist with things that aren't working, that's not great. And I think you can often forget some of the things we have got right in terms of incentives and the way that we work. Things like Ninja. That's not something that we've just suddenly stopped after 6 months. There have been things that have worked that we can recognise and keep doing.
Yeah, and also the changes with Ninja weren't just something we did in response to expansions. This was something that we recognised was needed for quite a while now.
Yeah, we were putting them into place before, and because the whole expansion stuff came up, we kind of we waited to kind of communicate them.
And that's because we really wanted to, get those updates in there that the community need, and have the extra resource for them to be able to do that. So,
I mean, just like on a personal level, it's something I take for granted, which is how responsive we are as a company for what we do, because we thrive on literally making sure that we're in touch with the players as much as possible in any way we can.
I would still improve on that. Undoubtedly, we could still improve on that.
No, absolutely. We'll never reach that peak, and I always personally want us to keep improving.
Yeah,
There's always a limit, of course, but what I think is amazing is how we always consistently try to find the middle ground. But I think if we look at other companies and just devs and stuff like that, in regards to the response from not only the devs working on RuneScape, but obviously community and everyone else around there, I think is something that until I worked here, I took for granted a little bit personally. So I think it's really, really cool. Next question. how does this change to unfinished business apply to those quests in the past which have been promised but not delivered?
So, there's an edge of rite of passage to this. I can't help but hear it in it. There are two categories of quests that I feel fit under unfinished business. There's those things that we have promised that are, your rite of passages, your evil Daves.
Did we actually ever promise rite of passage?
Well, I think we have to accept that when we talk about something, an update, it is converted into a promise. Now, we don't behind the scenes believe that's true, but often, people...
So if I said like bees and boomerangs...
no, he said, things like passion projects. But then there's also the kind of continue quest lines. Both of them can absolutely fit within unfinished business. And if you look at the survey, rite of passage is in there, but as is continuation quests. So just tell us which ones of those fit, or which ones you want most.
There we go. They're often going with the bees and boomerangs. You do know how it goes, right? Anytime rite of passage is mentioned, it's inevitably delayed.
I have delayed it so long.
Yeah, that's what happens. Anytime it's mentioned, it's delayed. That's just the running
I think that
gag.
question was even from Sritak, wasn't it?
Correct.
Yeah. Sorry, buddy.
All right. Will RuneFest still have big reveals for the end of 2017 like last year's RuneFest have? I think this is a given, surely, right? I mean, this is what we have it for.
In fact, yeah, RuneScape. So we don't want to make RuneScape reveals feel like a damn squib. I know we've talked about how we're not going to be talking about things that are far flung into the future, but we do still want to. We've got some plans for what we are going to reveal. But it's just going to be in that shorter time frame. And really, you're looking towards the end of the year. RuneFest is September. Towards the end of the year, maybe the start of next year. But we won't go much further than that. And we'll be giving a lot more kind of progress on the stuff that we've been working on, as well as some survey stuff. So hopefully it will still have a bit of impact, and we can still shout about things.
This year's RuneFest is going to be the best ever. So,
yeah. It's not failed on that one, that's for sure. Excuse me. The question here, which is the requirements for completionist cape due to Menethos expansion will still be postponed to September, right? So I assume the mini 3-month amnesty, is it still going to run until September 5th?
Yeah.
Cool. Given the players designed the now defunct expansion system through polls, how will polling this time result in anything different to prevent a replication of this problem next year?
Players didn't poll expansions or choose expansions from the poll. No, it's just one of the top ideas from Room Labs.
Yes, what we took from
was
right.
Menethos, and that absolutely wasn't from a poll. There are some things we've learned from the last time we did polls, because we're not blinkered, we know that they had flaws. Like things like Elf City versus Invention was a great poll to start off with, but everybody was sitting there going, where's Invention? And that lasted for a while. So we've learned from that. Obviously, we talked about Lol the Troll. There are other polls that just didn't feel like they were significant. But there was some that really worked. I think we can forget that. A lot of the Elf City ones worked.
Yeah, the Elf City stuff, I think, was really good. The try and come up with a story for Halloween over a course of a month didn't work. And we ended up having a poll where we just went, actually, is this a good idea or not? And everyone went, no.
But we've got to sit down with actually a lot of the old school devs next week.
Okay.
We want to kind of just sit with them and talk to them about what they've learned from doing polls for this long. Because there are obvious questions like, do we have a threshold? What kind of things do we poll? How would a survey work with RuneScape? Because we're really interested in the idea of doing surveys, not just individual questions. There are lots of things that we can learn from them.
I think our shift in mentality to make sure we do the projects right, rather than make sure it's released in the prompt time. Like back when we did the polls originally, we were going for that kind of there's got to be a big monthly thing, and it didn't work because it was polls do take a bit of time.
Yeah.
And we were just oh, well, I don't have the time to poll something, so it was just fit some arbitrary poll in to name a character or something like that, and it just didn't work. It wasn't what polls were for. This time, we will take the time to properly poll stuff, and if it takes some time and the project needs some time, then we'll make sure we're working on other stuff at the same time.
All right. Will you commit to all the unfinished businesses in free-to-play as well? So obviously there was actually a really awesome Google Doc that was shared this morning, I believe it was, which had...
that came from something about 6 months ago, didn't it? Somebody posted that.
I think it's been reposted.
I think it's been reposted, but
it's so good.
We've previously taken some Ninja stuff out of it. I wouldn't necessarily call it unfinished business.
Sure.
I think there's a lot there we can look at, though.
I think we definitely look at it. I don't think we've ever... there's the way we've looked at upon free-to-play in the past is not the way we want to look at it now.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that does mean a number of changes.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of free-to-play players get a pretty rough time of it, I think, and there's probably quite a bit we can do to improve that. But, you know, there's lots of priorities at the moment, so we need to have a good look at that and work out, you know, what's the best thing to do.
Witch's House is a good start, but we've been looking at a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff that was mentioned recently when I asked players about what they'd like to poll, actually. Free-to-play came up a lot.
What did you get out of that?
A lot of really good stuff, actually. The categories that seemed to come up a lot was free-to-play. So, you know, the idea of what if fletching was free-to-play? You know, what if a number of quests were free-to-play? A lot of stuff around Comp Cape. I think the one that sticks with me the most, that I really like, is what would happen if we took Reaper off comp, which would then allow us to be more hardcore or more involved with our boss encounters. And that kind of polling that as an option. And another one was removing content. That's another category that comes up a lot, about whether or not we are interested in, if it's not worth reworking because the base of it isn't good enough, should we rip it out? And so things like mobilising armies came up a lot, trouble brewing, that sort of thing.
I think a lot of people are, you know, saying, should we spend time thinking about free-to-play? But obviously free-to-play is going to help us bring new players into the game and people coming back to the game, and I think it will overall help with the health of everything. So
yeah, we may well look to poll those categories or something like that. Hidey holes came up a lot as well.
Yeah.
All right. Will a system of longer, more focused development lead to the return of test servers?
For certain things, I mean, we've always said from the start that we're going to do like a test server for it. We have to. It's just such a big project, and you know, the problems that could go wrong with it are major. You know, if people will lose their banks and stuff. So you know, and obviously, we can't stress test it as much as you getting all players in it. That it would do when it goes live. So we will need to do a test server. I'm not so sure about other stuff though.
Yeah, we've talked about it for like mining and smithing, things like that. I mean, it comes with its own complications, which is it's a lot of work to get, like historically, not a huge number of players. In fact, similar numbers to what we get from a player visit. So we've got to start thinking about like, is it worth that effort? I'd like to think that actually, you know, if everybody's behind unfinished business from the player base, actually, yeah, we would get that kind of number of people in helping us out.
All right, speaking of unfinished business, will unfinished business lead to the removal of any updates already in game? Not to be pushy, but I wouldn't be upset if Slayer went back to a 99 skill and the Manifest Slayer content was adjusted to level as an example. Can we expect removal of systems already in place, or will it only be changes and improvements?
No. I mean, like, well, the example they use for Slayer is like, well, I'm pretty confident we're not going to revert that back.
Yeah, but
that falls in the category of fill out and rework rather than...
You know, as we talked about with Shattered World, or more, not sorry, Shattered World, more Invention, there was some bits of the designs that we're just going to kind of strip out and stuff, isn't there?
Yeah, I personally don't feel bashful about removing things that aren't working in the game. The idea given there is not the kind of thing that I'd be looking to remove, but if there is content that is getting in the way, that is stopping particularly like new players like enjoying the game, then absolutely we would rip it out and poll it. Sorry, not that order.
But based on some of the comments in the chat regarding, you know, the Slayer thing, it's one of those things as well as like, I think the question kind of phrased it as if Slayer is unfinished. I don't think that that's true in the sense that, you know, if we increase a skill, it doesn't necessarily mean we should try and fill the entire thing straight away. But you know, we do plan to fill various things as we go along over the next coming few months as part of unfinished business. But you know, it's not that the skill is currently unfinished, if that makes sense to explain. Yeah. You know, we still want to add to Slayer. It's not done at the current stage. We do have a lot of Slayer questions in the survey, so if you haven't filled it out already, then please do, and that will be very, very telling to us on like our approach to it. I mean, the fact we're talking about Slayer a lot right now might be getting a lot of people's backs up, and there's the opportunity in that poll to say, look, actually, you know what, you focused on Slayer enough right now, thank you very much. So if that's your thought process, then put that in there as well. Do let us know. All right, so there's a pretty hefty question here, which is, can you please give us an update on the status of other updates that have been mentioned over the coming months? So we'll just go one by one here. So new system for boss kill time high scores, I guess, was kind of covered in a way by what you said, yeah? Cool. The ambassador? I think this is, we talked about doing a new boss, and we kind of talked about the
we called it the ambassador. I think it's very likely that we'll do new bosses, but whether it's actually the ambassador or not is...
I want people to be less excited about the ambassador as a concept and more excited about the prospect of a new boss. Because that can fit into Unfinished Business. That's kind of what we were talking about on RuneFest. We wanted to do a new boss encounter.
Oh, hi, Ramen. Add in the giant mimic as a permanent overworld boss.
So this is one, I think there's quite a few more on that list of when we did the game jam earlier in the year. That was kind of like the tap project type stuff you were talking about, am I right? Where it was we put on this game jam. It was like it was a chance for like JWorlds to come in and kind of work on what they wanted to work on, work with the players at the same time, and a lot of the stuff they had fun, but a lot of stuff kind of like was done a bit. But no one's kind of really gone back to it. I'm not sure. I think this one is one of those.
Yeah, I think this is more Park than anything.
Okay, so I think that applies to, I would assume, the One Small Favor sequel.
Yep.
Barago Quest.
Yep.
The BIK Quest, BIK. I don't know how you say it. It says BIK.
Big Quest is Elder God Quest.
So does that apply?
That's different.
Okay, right. Okay.
So for Elder God Quest,
sorry. Go ahead.
I think it's unlikely that we'll do it in the near future. It's not canned or anything like that, but I think we'll come to Elder Gods at a later time.
Yeah, pretty much that.
Yeah.
Elder Gods are actually pushed further back in terms of progressing the core storyline. We've actually made the decision to push it further back. So I know a lot of people were really interested in the big quest. That has gone further back. So
other stuff from Game Jam, the in-game events calendar?
That should actually be... We're at that stage is development is complete. It needs to go through QA.
Awesome.
So that is coming.
Mod Shogun's Abyssal Slayer mobs?
No.
And the Birth of Games room playable throughout RuneScape?
Again, it's when I say no, it's like it's shelved. It's as far as I'm aware, no one's working on it currently. These are all ideas that we can do in the future. And then obviously, if players go, actually, I really like that idea, then we can obviously we can make that a proper project. We can stop it being like this kind of tap project that's just sitting with someone for do when they kind of fancy to. Actually, let's bring that in. Let's put that into one of the team's backlogs and actually make it a proper project.
All right, so we talked about Sears Village rework, which is on this list. We talked about earlier. We kind of briefly showed off Mojo's Karanja graphical rework. Is that kind of like a shelf?
That was another game jam thing. Where again, we've been talking about it. I think we've kind of even listed it in a few places as graphical reworks and stuff we could do. It's not something we're working on right now, but obviously it's there. It's kind of up there, and when it comes to kind of reworks and stuff.
Weather.
Weather's not. So weather we could do weather with just like in content, and it'd be pretty crappy, to be honest. Well, they will still make it good, but compared to doing it the right way, which is doing it through NXT guys, it'd be crappy in comparison. So we want to do it the right way. Currently, the NXT guys are focusing on other things. So until they have time to maybe look at it, it's a no. Don't expect it to come.
Yeah, well, we've been talking about unfinished business. Weather hasn't actually come up a lot from player base, so we've also kind of obviously stopped posting now if that's different, but it hasn't quite had the same volume of like construction, rework, or mining, that sort of thing.
But even if they do really want it, it's still not going to speed. It might speed things up a little bit, but you're not going to get it like this year or anytime soon. So don't expect it. Is what I'm saying.
Clan Avatar rework.
That's behind engine. We need some engine work for that.
Oh, okay.
I believe that's the stuff we were talking the other day about the mod Moltaire.
Yeah.
What he's done. Requires some engine stuff, so it's kind of behind there. And engine stuff is take some time. It's not blaming them or anything like that. It's just how it is, sort of thing. More technical work and stuff.
The cosmetic overrides for the God books. That, I believe.
I think that's kind of done-ish. That was being done as a kind of tap thing, and I think
it's tap, yeah.
It's been worked on a little bit over time.
Mod Ryan, is it? Yeah,
Orion,
so good on him. Yeah, he's got that.
Pet pack.
No.
Yeah, I think that's a no.
Right.
It is in the survey, so do tell us otherwise, but unless it really comes high, that's currently less important than combat pets. It's almost like those two have detached from each other because they were always imagined as one, and combat pets we want to get done. Pet part we really need to hear from you.
And also, like, what do you actually want out of a pet park? What does that mean to you? Like, why do you want this update? I think that's for all these sort of updates. It's not just telling us the title of the update. It's what actually from that update do you really want? I think is the most important thing.
All right. Which major update currently has your highest priority, and which of the 10 updates do you expect to be released first?
So, what gets released first and what has the highest priority doesn't go hand in hand. Obviously, some projects take longer. I think from my side of the thing, bank rework is a big thing. We talked about it being a kind of burden to Ninja. We've actually, what we didn't say is actually we've taken the bank rework and we've taken it out of Ninja, so the guys who are working on it are fully focused on that. But that's players last year said like that was the biggest thing. Whenever we've kind of continued to ask, I think there was even like a poll today on like Twitter or something. I think we ran one, Mod JD.
Yeah, I can show you the result.
Yeah, Mod JD asked a question out of like 4 reworks, what you're most looking forward to. Bank had the overwhelming majority, I think. It's something that we need to do. We need to get it right. It takes plenty of time. Until the beta actually is live, don't expect it.
Got it. And obviously, in regards to what do we expect to be released first, I think from my knowledge, the achievements obviously was on the top 10. That'll be first, definitely.
Yeah, I don't know if Shattered World rewards will beat it out. I don't know. It'll be close.
Yeah, but either way, it's going to be those two first for sure. Okay. So you say, and I quote, that we are actively working on or researching. Those are two big different things. I would like to know out of the 10 which is active and which is researching.
Well, I'm hoping from that graphic you can see what that should say it all. I think kind of researching, probably mining and smithing falls into that category. Clue Scroll rework falls into that category.
Yeah. Pre-production means that it's more in design and stuff, and we're more kind of looking about how we go about that project. When it's actually, did you say in development? Was that your?
Yeah.
Yeah, in development means that actually we have the content developers, we have the artists working, we have the QA testers, testing at the same time, sort of thing.
Should we talk? No, let's not talk about clans.
Clans?
We're getting a lot of clanners on the chat.
Well,
some
I've got a question. So.
Go on then.
Why is the clan/Citadel improvement rework not on the list? How are we looking to support clans in the next 12 months?
So kind of as I said before, that top of the 10 list was very much kind of based on stuff that we had already been working on, more immediate stuff that you can kind of get out. Clans is definitely, I think we all see that as a high priority. So I definitely feel like I don't want to commit, but at the same time,
too far ahead.
Yeah,
but it's similar to expansion. If we said we're going to do a full clan rework now, would that mean we have to wait with nothing else until then, or do we do things at the same time?
I think
it's
also
very difficult.
Yeah, I think also it's one of these things where it's actually we need to kind of delve down a little bit. I know we have done in a lot of past, and it's just kind of bringing some of that back. But what are the actual problems?
Yeah,
that we need to do?
Do we need clan citadels? Is it the skill plots that people want from them? And look, again, there's a whole clan section in the survey. There's a reason it's got its own page dedicated to itself. It's because we want to know these things because we're actively, looking into this right now.
I think our kind of mentality shift does mean like we will be looking at this sort of stuff.
Yeah, we can't hide.
We know. Yeah, we've hidden from it too long.
It's the only question I'm asked at RuneFest. Like everybody does. They love it.
It just needs to happen.
Any more clans questions?
Can we expect a renewed focus on quests?
Now, quests is So quests, the vessel that quests came in was expansions.
Okay, so if we look at quests, so we've been talking about the production and the outlining of it. If we're talking a quest, how long are we expecting a quest to take?
Well, in terms of development?
Yes.
You're normally looking at about 3 months.
Right.
For development for a quest. Can go up from that. Depending on the size. I mean, 3 months is probably Evil Dave size.
It really depends, of course, on the quest itself. But yes, 3 months is a good, for the baseline quest.
Yeah. So the quests that we were doing for expansions were so tied to the theme of expansions, they don't make sense. Certainly not under an unfinished business. Make them out in the future? They may well do. But we're now looking at how we can make sure that there is quest presence in this year. And that's looking at kind of Titans and Eternals, but also how Ninja could possibly help with bottle-like quests as well, like Evil Dave. So we know that people consume quests; they love quests, and we're going to get some. We're going to get some out this year.
So you mentioned bottle quests. Personally, I loved like God Wars Dungeon 2 Tales, like we did last March. Do we ever see a return to them?
Yeah, absolutely. It's an option, but it's not one of the things we're working on.
Of course.
It's very hard to see a Tales that fits under unfinished business for me. It's really about like really continuation of things we've promised. It won't always be that way, obviously, but yeah, I could see Tales working out.
Got it. Just going through these questions because I don't want to read any that we've obviously covered here and there. Will the Shadow World improvements be large scale or more just quality of life fixes? So it's not much of a grind. You kind of covered this earlier, I believe. You said
it's more than quality of life.
Yeah.
There is there's some good additions. I think, like for example, you quite rightly people brought up that it was every time you go to kind of world, it's always 70%. That's your target, your goal. It's like that. Your objective is always the same. And I think after hearing like player suggestions for it as well, I think the guys are looking to implement more objectives. So it changes things up a fair bit, and other things such as that. Like adding more to the gameplay.
So I'm going to mention construction rework. Now, obviously, this is brought up a bit because Summer Summit last May. We showed off Mod Doctor's project that obviously was working on his personal time.
Project.
Yeah, but obviously it then created that thought that something could happen. Or do we know what's going on with that?
We've not progressed it any further.
Right.
I think we kind of, with the expansion strategy, we were kind of thinking like, how do we tie this into an expansion to like get it done sort of thing. And now we're not doing that. It kind of frees us to look at these sort of updates more individually.
I'm really interested where it sits on that large update.
Again, it's
survey.
It's again survey. Give us your thoughts. Help us to determine whereabouts we prioritise it.
Based on the Twitter poll we put out, it seems like it is lower than mining, smithing, and bank, but it sits with Clue Scroll.
Let me just
I think it was even last time I looked, so it is.
It's higher than Clue Scroll when I looked.
Yeah, it's a big priority for a lot of people.
It was 39% bank rework, 26% mining, smithing, 18% construction, 17% Clue Scroll.
Yeah.
So it's kind of 10% or so.
Now that's a small part of the community, I think. I'm not sure how many people voted on it, so it's not a real accurate thing. But the surveys obviously hit a lot more people, and that stuff will help us determine.
So someone here just wanting clarification on what unfinished business means. So will you only update frequently requested content, or will you take a step further and update some of the older content before going back to the new content?
Not sure I understand the question.
So
does
that mean we decide to focus on the older content that might have missing pieces first, or do we just focus on the stuff that's the most requested that's missing?
We want to tackle the things that we've said over and over again we'll do and then haven't done as priority, and make good on those sort of unfinished promises and stuff. It doesn't mean we're not ever going to do anything outside of that at the same time, and we're not going to do any new stuff or really exciting stuff that people haven't heard of either. But it's just a way of us really acknowledging the fact of where we think it's probably gone a little bit on the wrong track. So
also those updates that we've like Shattered Worlds where we've released, but there's a feeling that you're playing unfinished content, like it's been rushed at the end or whatever. I think some people want to hear from Mod Ryan about raids too.
So
you in particular. So,
I don't know why specifically me, but there's a few things listed in the chat that are worth mentioning, I guess. So they said Raids 2, Floor 61 and Fossil Island.
Yeah.
Things that have been discussed in the past. How many are any
Raids
of those?
2 is in the survey.
Okay.
But the other two aren't.
Why are the other two not in the survey? So first of all, let me use this as a chance to ask. How do you decide what goes in the survey and what doesn't? And why were those two not in the survey?
That's a very good question. It's we wanted to. So Fossil Island doesn't. It's just a name. It's like Church of You for me. It's just there's no game content there. There's no design there, and we want that to be filled out a little bit more. Raids 2, we have a genuine concept of what it could be. Everybody knows what you're getting from Raids 2. It's like you're kind of voting on a puff of air. We don't know what is what is the makeup of that. Floor 61, so many people don't know if it's quest or a dungeoneering track, an alternate dungeoneering or whatever. I think we need to make that clearer and do a bit more work to make it an idea of what's valuable. So that's why it didn't get in there, because I feel it's unfair to put it up against stuff like construction rework, like clans reworks, that have genuine, that have a genuine idea of what's backing them up.
Right. Okay.
Someone voting one of those things might be you under the pressure that it means certain things, and someone else voting might different things, and as a result you get a skewed result.
Yeah, I think that also, for me, there are a few that are introducing new gameplay systems, like layering on top, like new stuff, and actually, there's kind of this feeling like we want to look at that knotty ball of yarn that is RuneScape and like make sure that it is, we want to fix it and make it better rather than layering more stuff on top.
Yeah.
All right. Will we see more tech trees in Invention Batch 2?
I want to know. Yeah, one of the things I really want to know from players is how much of a focus is tech trees in Invention Batch 2. I'd be really eager to know, actually, if we were to do a wholesale kind of update to Invention Batch 2, is it really important that we do more tech trees? Or is it more important that we do more devices, that we do machines, that we do fixing Invention? Be really interested to see from people in chats, like if they want to put a post up on the forums, like what elements you feel are important. We've got a sense of what it is, but tech trees aren't a part of it at the moment.
Can we do a straw poll?
Yeah, absolutely. If you could form that something coherent that's not my rambling.
We'll do a straw poll for you, for everyone watching, so you can check your votes in on that one.
Can I backstep real quick? Someone said we skipped over it. So, although raids is in the survey, but Floor 61 and Fossil Island aren't. Doesn't mean to say that, like we said, we don't have no one really has a good idea of what Fossil Island could be or Floor 61 could be. But, if there was, a big drive for Floor 61, say, being a quest or being something, once we get more to that stage, I guess at that point, it could become something that we focus on. If it really got to everyone really wanted one specific thing with Floor 61, it's not to say we're disregarding it.
I know this sounds a bit, pie in the sky, but Menaphos with, I think it was Alskert who put forward that idea on Rune Labs, that gained traction and people started getting an idea of what Menaphos was. I'd be absolutely fine if that, that suddenly gained traction.
All right. So what about the whole unfinished business thing? Where can we players?
What about that?
Where can we players make a submission to the list of things to be fixed or at least looked at again? So how can people get their ideas out in regards to something?
Get on the survey.
Yeah.
Get on the forums. Get on Twitter. Just speak to us.
It's been brilliant because we've had like Gaga Lady lists on Reddit. I've seen some on the forums and getting. Our list is exhaustive and long.
Yeah, so I was going to bring up those lists. Obviously, there's no commitment to any of those lists whatsoever, but they're definitely nice things to call back to if we need
it's a good
to look
prompt for staff as well. Like so many people have been looking at that going, oh yeah, actually that would be a real benefit. I remember us promising that, let's grab it. So can't promise that Liz and Ben will be in game, but taking a long look at those lists.
What unfinished business do you see for Iron Man players?
Is there any?
I don't really see. I mean, I don't really see that being any unfinished business.
Tell us otherwise. We're in a position where we can't see much that is unfinished business for Iron Man. Certainly things we promised.
Yeah, there's probably a few things actually, but I think to be more specific, I don't know enough about the pure details, but I think it's like, there's still a few mini games that Iron Man can't play that it may be useful to allow them to play. I think, if you guys as a community told us what they are, then it's definitely something for Ninja, I reckon.
They're saying group dungeoneering.
Flying Ramen's in the chat, so...
No, heckle him.
Yeah.
There you go.
Tell him.
And we'll move on. Before we do that, polls up on our screen here. So, would you like to see tech trees in Invention Batch 2? At the moment, no has 44%, yes is 30%, and not fussed is 25%.
I mean, that's pretty huge. So 70% are either no or not bothered about us releasing new tech trees with Invention Batch 2. And you're right, because... Sorry, not you're right, but that would take up time that we could spend on new devices, fixes. And it's really nice to see that actually a good proportion, we're saying we're focusing on the right thing.
Oh yeah, it's something to remember of all these sort of things. It's you can rework something, you can rework it and you rework it, but if you do so much, then it just pushes that date back and back and back and back, and it never ends up getting released, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I think you could probably always come up with more stuff for Invention, for example, and there needs to be a time when you go, right,
It's like any
that's it. Let's get that out. Let's actually let the players play this sort of stuff.
Do we see any PvP improvements in Unfinished Business?
I think it's fair to say that Bounty Hunter and Deathmatch, you had a whole load of feedback on it when we released it, and at the time it was a case of we spent a lot of time on PvP for a proportion of the player base that is relatively small compared to others, and as a result we moved on. But there is stuff there is rewards there that players really like, and I think at some point we do need to go back to it, but it isn't one of our highest priorities.
ModPie put a really nice heartfelt post out there about like what he wanted to do with PvP, so do go read that if you want. But obviously he's on bank rework, and we have unfairly leaned on him a lot to do our PvP updates, but he's behind bank rework.
Yeah.
All right, so we got a couple of questions related to polls here. With the negative feedback polling system got last time it was attempted, and at the best lukewarm reception Slayer 120 got on release, what changes are being made to how content is polled?
Well, as you said before, we were speaking a lot with the old school guys about the best practices for kind of like polling stuff. Changes that we're making is to allow for surveys. Currently we're locked into this horrible system of you can only ask 3 questions at a time, which is the Dragonstone, Diamond and Ruby options. Allowing us to do survey allows us to ask a whole load of questions all at once and kind of really do a deep dive into like the stuff that you're discussing. So if we're doing a rework to a piece of content, we can ask a whole load of questions about each individual bit, asking what we should do to you. Should we scrap this? Should we keep it? Should we do this? Should we do that? And that will allow us to kind of really create more meaningful updates and stuff.
I think one of the bigger things, I don't know if we've mentioned it, is that when the poll system has been most successful, it's when we've thrown out like design documents and a lot of kind of chatter about what we're planning to do at the same time, and that's something we've definitely learned to do more of.
People have commented that often in the past, especially for the bigger polls, they don't know what they've been voting on.
Yeah.
When we did like Invention versus Elf City, we did like a video, like you versus Maltair, didn't we? There was that one, and there was a bit of information, but it wasn't an awful lot. And
61 versus Vampire Finale, I think.
Yeah,
right.
Vampires of Floor 61, which again didn't feel like it was fleshed out.
And it's like and we need to actually put in a lot more work before we poll it, so that we can provide more design documents that actually explain exactly what you're voting on, so you can expect what you would get if you voted for this option. Because I think there's been a lot of times when people vote for an option and it's like, this isn't what I got. I think the best example of that that many players use is the Elder Gods quest, where it was like, we did a series of polls like, what quest should we do next, sort of thing, and it ended up
it was like a flow diagram poll. It was like you ended up Hearthstone.
Hearthstone, yeah, and it was not what players expected in the end.
Yeah.
We went through that series of polls, and they were like, "Oh man, if I knew this is what I was going to end up with, I would have voted for this quest instead," and stuff. So we need to provide information on exactly what people are voting for.
Since there will be polls coming out, will some polls be locked behind the level requirements or a certain threshold to vote, i.e., like the Vitality threshold?
Yeah, it's very much depending on what the poll is. Yeah, Some more to say. I was going to say something, but maybe not.
I'm just going through these and just making sure we don't repeat ourselves here. Mod Osborne stated that going back to polls is partly inspired by OSRS's success with polls. So going off that, in the past, polls were just choice A versus choice B. We were given no indication of potential awards, potential requirements, or other details regarding the updates. Will we expect this kind of style from the new content polls, or will we see a return to the former?
Absolutely what we said, more detail. I mean, on the topic of rewards, we were always a little bit sensitive because a reward would dictate a winner.
Yeah.
People would ignore like it was a quest, what was the reward, and they'd only vote on that. So that's a particular one we're sensitive of. But yeah, absolutely, we're going to give more information up front.
If you say there's like this thing's going to give you like more XP than this one, then everyone's going to vote for the more XP one, no matter what the content is.
I mean, people aren't stupid. Of course you would. If it gives farming XP, then straight away.
I'm not too sure what this is asking. I think I do, but we'll see if we figure this out. Can you please put some dev time into being able to run polls where we rank things in order?
No,
Right.
is the answer, because it's in order to do that. So I said we'll add surveys. That's because we currently have the capability to do that, and we just need to do content side changes to do that. What that requires is work from another team, the web team, and they've got lots of stuff as well that they're doing. And whilst we can give it to them and it'll be done eventually at some point, it's not. To be honest, the amount of polls that we'll do use that type of poll means that it won't be a priority.
Yeah.
And
I think we can
there'll
work
always
around.
probably be more important things that team can do, so it would never actually happen. Whilst I can see why it'd be nice in a few instances, and like being able to rank stuff, it's just it doesn't have a priority behind it. And I think sometimes people give examples, can you prioritize, can you rank which ninja fixes we should do first and stuff, but then that leads into things like, well, is the ones at the bottom ones that we should still do, or is like does that mean they're crap? And I think if you more have the survey questions, which is asking, should we spend our time doing this, yes or no, then it's very clear whether we should do that or not.
Are minigames considered unfinished content?
Every time we talk about minigames, we talk about how we've put a number of work into minigames in the past, and we never really see much change in people playing with them and stuff.
But there's a passionate community in them. I don't want to marginalise them.
What we've done with some of those minigames is like we did a full rework to what's it called? Barbarian Assault, and that one is actually one of the more complex minigames probably to kind of get into. When you just look at it, you're just like, whoa, this is a bit overwhelming on what you're meant to do and stuff. So it's kind of understandable why that maybe doesn't increase like number of people playing and stuff.
But I don't think we've got plans to spend resource on it right now, have we?
No, it's not our priority. But I think I do read the critical feedback at times about how like you say you've tried mini games, but you haven't really you didn't do the right things and stuff. And I think that's kind of fair enough. And at some point we should kind of take a look at them. But we were talking about also like earlier on about mobilizing armies and stuff. It's like, should we scrap them? And like the reason why you'd scrap mobilizing armies is because if we were to rework it, like we would start from scratch. And it's currently we have something that's not. It's not. You don't really want to put people on it. You don't want to put new players on it. You don't want to have people to feel like they have to spend all their time to get their comp cape requirements and stuff. So it's, do we just scrap it?
Well, the argument is it? Do we just leave it? Is it damaging anybody? And that's where I think it's good for a poll for me.
Yeah.
For the more egregious mini games that nobody is really playing, do you just leave it?
Is there no way we can make the make a hub and then push everything into one world?
We could.
Yeah.
Do we think that as like some ideas that come in the chat just then?
So something we've discussed, or Timbo has discussed with me recently, is like we do want to try and, without going to rework a mini game necessarily, there are some smaller ninja fix style things we can do that may be able to encourage it. I don't know if I want to say it just because it sounds like we're going to do it, but it's more like we want to find a way that maybe themed worlds have extra bonuses and stuff. I will say that because that's the sort of thing which it can help with mini games, just encouraging you.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the sort of thing we may poll to the players, see if they're interested in that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Right. I'm going to ask this as a last opportunity for you guys to get your questions in. We'll try and take what we can, but I'll kind of throw up just a question for myself. Honestly, are you guys? How are you guys feeling about this obviously significant move from which was the expansion model now into unfinished business? I mean, we'll go in order. If that's okay, Kelpie. You want to kick us off?
Very excited. It's quite motivating. Feels like we've always kind of come up with excuses in a way to not do stuff in the past, and it feels like we're actually in a position where it's like, no, cut the crap, let's just do it, sort of thing. And of course, we can't do everything all at once. This is something that, with the amount of stuff that we've got on our lists already, it will take for years. But we'll do that. That will be our focus. We will take years. I feel like we will take years to do that. You obviously will put in some new stuff with that and stuff, but I feel good about it. I think it's not going to be like an instant thing. We're not going to obviously we've come out with expansions and it's going to take a little while before we start getting some of the larger impactful updates. But there's lots of smaller things coming in the next couple of months, and I feel good about it.
I'm completely blank. What did you ask? I was reading the questions.
What was the question again?
Just basically, on a personal note, like, since the move from expansions to unfinished business, what are your thoughts on it?
Sorry, I was so lost in the question. No, my thoughts, really good. I think that, I don't want to reiterate too much of what Jamie said, but there is a lot of stuff that, that does need us going back to it. And there is a lot of cool updates we've said we want to work on before, and we haven't done that. But, they are cool updates that, even players, you saw it here as well, they're mentioning clans a lot. It's something we do want to look at. So, instead of saying we're going to do it and not doing it, we're actually going to start doing these things now. And it's moving towards that approach of, this is the topic of conversation. We discuss it with the players, polls, various means, dev blogs, and how do they want it to work. And then go for that from there.
No, I remember the question, don't worry.
Thank you.
So yeah, one of the bonuses of moving away from the expansion model and going to unfinished business is the expansion teams no longer need to be as huge. So we've made Ninja bigger, which means we can start going back, doing more of those quality of life fixes, but then focusing that on the unfinished business stuff as well. So if we ever come to work on a quest line finale, we can go back to the older quests and start brushing them up. I think I was playing pirate quests the other day just to go through and have a look at some potential ninja fixes if we ever come to do pirate finale. And yeah, it filled me with rage just because some of the interactions there were not the sort of content itself, but the way you're interacting with the game is very sort of dated and doesn't really mesh with what we're doing lately and isn't pleasing for a new player to be interacting with. So
I sit behind him, and there was a lot of rage.
I sounded like a pirate there. I swear. Damn it.
My favourite was the chest that you have to.
Oh God, the chest.
That you have to log out and log back in again for it
You
to.
have to loot 10 things from this one chest, but you can only do them 3 at a time, and you've got to wait around for it to damn well close again. It's some sort of magical chest that just keeps refilling, which just begs the question, why not steal the bloody magical chest?
So
It keeps on farting out gold.
what I'm getting out of this is that we need to do Mod Liam play streams, I think.
So yeah, that kind of stuff.
I've noted it.
It won't put our game in a good light. Don't do it.
It will have to be like after Watershed.
Yeah.
RuneScape nights.
Wowie. That escalated quickly. Goodness me.
The rage just came back to me. I'm having counselling though. We're working through it. It's your turn, Dave.
Oh, goodness.
So yeah, last week I felt like if you asked me last week, I would have felt like I'd really let down the staff and the players. I think I was really feeling like, because it's Mod Connor and I's thing to do expansions. It was our theory, our idea. We really wanted to make this bet because we thought it'd be for the best of RuneScape. But it's just, it damaged so much of the year. And so I really felt a bit kind of responsible for that. But to be honest, I'm behind all of these guys and feeling really hopeful. And it's good to be talking about updates again rather than kind of utter surprise with all the expansions as well.
Yeah. I think from a business point of view, and I have to say that because that's partly my work, it didn't really sort of stack up. And when we look at the investment and everything else, it just wasn't the best thing for RuneScape. And, we want the game to be around for a long time. And, if we were to carry on with that, then I think, that would have made that difficult. But from a personal level, I think the whole thing on Friday night after Mod Osborne's video was just really humbling, just seeing the response and just how people welcome the fact that we were listening to them for the first time or in a while or whatever. But it was just it was just really good to see how those responses came in.
No, I noticed Rahman said he was ducking out of the chat the moment we directed stuff at him, but he wants to sneak back in to say he loves RuneScape. So feel free to direct.
I love it.
Feel free to direct all Iron Man queries at him. I'm sure he'll be disappearing in just a moment. All right, got a couple of questions from the chat here. Would you move to doing 1 tap day a week rather than a fortnight?
Sorry?
Would you move to doing 1 tap a week rather than a fortnight?
So you mean twice as much?
That's
Was that from a staff member?
Much more of a business. Yeah, it's weird.
That's ramen.
Yeah. This is much more of a kind of business question than a RuneScape thing.
I think it's right. Like a day every 2 weeks is not insignificant. That's big.
I think I think even that, like, we feel like the chopping and changing between projects and your focus and stuff, like, that adds a bit of time on. It's not easy to go from like one thing and then the next day just come in and do something completely different. Whilst it's nice to change and stuff, there's still that kind of like crossover and stuff. So I think it's right. I don't think we'd do any more. I think we still need to look a little bit more at the process of when someone works on something in their tap time and they come up with a really good idea, how we kind of make that more of an official project rather than a kind of personal project, and make sure it gets the full support it needs. But yeah, in terms of the amount of tap that's done, then no.
Also, Old School have their updates on a Thursday, so they have to do Friday afternoon personal projects instead.
That acronym.
Don't go there. Let's move on.
What about the farming timer?
It's on the survey.
It's
Go
on the
vote.
survey.
Yep.
Although we never promised it. We said it was the third option in
It was the third option in a 2 option. Yeah.
a 5 option thing.
Yeah.
And we said if we ever had time, we might come around to it. And we've never
That was
had
my
time.
fault.
So,
It's me again. That was a BTS.
It's on the list. Let us know.
What are your thoughts on speedrunning accounts? So, to give you a bit of context, very recently we started having a kind of a surge of people wanting to speedrun quests like Dragon Slayer and stuff like that.
We were talking about that this afternoon.
Oh, really?
Love speedrunners. Yeah.
Yeah.
Games done quick and all that.
Yeah,
lot.
Yeah,
totally up for
HD.
that. I think
Yeah,
we could do
it's so
some
cool.
really cool stuff with that and make some great sort of videos and things.
Make some great revenue for the treasure hunter.
Oh, he went
Kelpie.
there. Good lad.
Getting to that
All
point.
in good
We're,
ways.
that's not what we
we're getting to that point now, aren't we?
I think we've all talked about, like, we've all, like, individually, I think, probably talked about how great it would be to, like, make official things and stuff with it.
Okay. Oh god, I don't know how I feel about asking this question. Is Darkscape unfinished content?
No, Darkscape was a different game,
Okay.
Oh, good
and
answer.
it's not coming back.
Okay.
As much as I would love it to,
But never say never.
JD, you're literally putting me on the chopping.
Darkscape was all about permadeath.
And
it's
I would love to bring it back, but I think it's, we have to say no.
How long did you guys expected for reworks to take, and how far are you along with mining and smithing percentages?
So mining and smithing has been up to 50% before. It is now down to 10% because player feedback. Because we just need to relook at it because we need to know from the survey what people want from it. We've gone down a direction that actually, you know what, is going to be a huge amount of work and it's the size of NXT. We need to start thinking about what parts of it are important, and that's what the survey's about. I know it's frustrating. I know it really is because it's been around for a while. But let's find out what mining and smithing is off the back of the survey.
So, personal question. If there was one thing you can have at RuneScape for next year, what would it be?
One
Plan
thing in
rework.
RuneScape.
I'll go out and say it. That's what I'd like to see. I mean, it's the one thing, the clan I'm in, really spend a lot of time and, I spend more time capping than anything else these days. But, yeah, that's for me.
Well, you're taking my answers. That's really
You
annoying.
can say the same.
I want RuneScape on my Switch.
Oh, nice.
Switchcape.
Oh my god! Oh man!
Boom.
I'd love that.
Okay.
Just because I'm infatuated with the thing at the moment, and I'm infatuated with RuneScape, so it's a lovely mesh.
Fair enough.
Penguins in space.
Oh god!
A musical
Not sure
odyssey.
if he means it.
No, I do.
/S.
I want to say just loads more content, but that's too generic.
Loads more
So how
content.
about a skilling boss,
All right.
Skilly boss.
personal?
This is something you want to solve. It's your determination that you can solve that.
It's a hard thing to solve, yeah.
It is.
Just trying to make it feel like an actual boss and not a mini game. And I do think, that's my personal thing. It's my personal challenge.
They said Darkscape, and now all I'm thinking about is I want Darkscape, but we're not doing it.
You can say it.
You say it. This is wish time.
No, don't say it.
Wish time.
All of this is being added to unfinished
RuneScape.
business,
Yeah.
by the way.
Darkscape is a different thing. It's
You
not.
can edit
It's
this
not
bit out,
RuneScape.
right, JD? You can edit all this bit out.
I also really like I was saying to you guys the other day when we've been doing all this stuff, my number one thing is plans as well.
Oh, right.
I really just want to get that done and sorted. Well, it's not just a one-time thing, but we need to focus on it. We need to make it in a position like the bank where we can actually work on it a lot easier, and it doesn't become this kind of thing where we think of, someone mentions like working on clans, it's like, he's like a vampire in the sun sort of thing, which is like, it's like, we actually, yes, let's do clans and let's make it a big thing and easier to integrate with everything else and work on it in the future. And when you do a project, say even like Shattered Worlds, like you can tie clans into that project somehow, and it's easy to do.
Clan v clan stuff, like Clan v clan high scores, people racing for things.
Yeah.
It'll be a great situation.
Can I change my mind?
Go on.
I want unscape.
Oh my god, man.
Oh, yes.
It's in the survey.
It's in the survey.
Is it actually in the survey?
It's in the survey.
Speed running unscaped.
Oh my god. Wow.
How low can
He made
you
it
go?
on there.
99 to broke. Go
I
for
thought it was. So, how has it gone from
It's
April
an
Fools?
example. It's in a bracket.
Right. So it's not, but people can suggest that if they wanted to.
Have a look at the survey, Shawnee.
Okay. I did when you sent
Oh,
around, when you
Sean's
asked
ready
around for
for a
I want to
feedback.
say right passage now. Anyway, you better move on. What about you?
Well, he stole it from me. No, honestly, like the only thing I ever wanted was to kind of like it's kind of happened the last few weeks, which was being able to be a bit like more integrated with dev teams for like being the full feedback to get there quicker.
Yeah.
And like that's happened, and I think that's going to help a lot more than anything. Now for me, over the next year, it's just a matter of trying to keep on
Living
top
the
of that and making sure that we do the best we
Make
can.
sure they
Really.
don't kick you out.
Otherwise, you'll kick me out. I'll keep that in mind. All right, I think that's it from the stream questions. It's been about an hour and 45 minutes ish. We've gone through a
But
hell
we're
of a
going
lot.
all night, Shawnee. All night.
Sure, we can do that if we have stuff to talk about. Do you have stuff to talk about?
You've got your personal questions.
When's your birthday, Shawnee?
Yeah.
It's actually my birthday very soon.
I know it is.
Very soon. Speaking of which, actually, I didn't even. I feel a bit bad because Mod Mike, we didn't even actually kind of introduce you and what you do.
Oh, we
So
don't want to do that now, do we? Okay.
yeah, why not?
So, okay. I'm product manager for RuneScape, so I'm responsible for the commercial performance of the game. So I'm a bit more involved at the business end of things, if you like.
The evil cape.
I wasn't going to say it, but yeah, that's what my daughter said when I described it. She said, "Oh, you're the bad one and Dave's the good one." There you are.
Oh man.
What do they know?
Geez, I don't even know. Like, you see, just ask personal questions. I mean, any of you guys can ask personal questions by all means. This is not just.
You could just wrap it up, Shawnee.
I
You
know,
don't have
yeah.
to.
It was joking.
Okay.
Please end it.
All right, but as an overview, just to give you an idea of everything we've gone through. By the way, Rubik, good luck trying to TLDW all this. But anyway.
Or Sooty. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
Sooty's
Sooty
back as well, so I'm not sure which one. Maybe they can
do they
work
fight?
together.
Maybe they'll.
Maybe
yeah.
they work together and maybe they've taken like half each or something. I don't know.
All right, so TLDW everything here. We'll try and go through this. So, to summarise what's happened, we went through the major points, of course, of the video we released on Friday related to unfinished business. We covered why we were halting expansions for the foreseeable future. Finish what we wanted to finish, what we started, and actually, while I say that, can we bring up the graphic image of the progress stuff, if that's okay? So, to give you an idea, we have a top 10 list, but we thought we'd show you where we are so far as a progress update on them. And on July 28th, we're actually going to share an additional updates to show you where we've gotten with these updates. So there you can see a couple of them there, and I think we have another one where there's a couple more stuff mentioned. There you go. So you can kind of see how that stuff's coming along. Of course, we talked about the big RuneScape survey. That's now live. We cannot stress it enough. That is critically important for us getting an idea of what you want to see from the game and what you want to see from us. So please fill that out whenever you can. We then, of course, went on to talking about doubling the size of the Ninja team, what that has meant. here for us at RuneScape, and obviously everything we've been able to do so far and what we've actually been able to do already with that. And as an additional note, for the month of July, Aura Bag is not happening. However, it was being replaced by the Earn Improvements project, which introduces, I believe, 4 new skills. Is that correct? Farming, runecrafting, divination, and hunter. Thank you. So you can keep an eye out for that one, and also stackable earns. Is that correct?
Yes, that's it.
Cool.
Stackable earns.
Just want to double check that one, and then that was kind of it in a nutshell.
Yeah.
And then,
What?
And then just try to obviously take questions wherever we can. So apart from that, everyone, it's obviously been a massive pleasure to do this. The next time we will be talking about this, of course, will be on the 28th with hopefully a news post and a video in one. And then I assume we're going to do a follow-up stream as after that post is done, of course. JD, I presume.
Folding in with months ahead, I would imagine.
Awesome. And then we can see what comes up from there. But apart from that, all I'm going to say is that it's 6 days until the announcement, and that will be it.
Can I plug one thing? Can I plug one thing?
You ruined his announcement.
I know.
We could do it again. Go for it.
So the Ninja Forum, now that we're double the team size, it'd be good, by all means come there. We're going to start putting up things like, dev blogs where possible, so to talk about the high scores. But just make sure, if you've got any ideas, bring them there, because there are now more of us looking at it. Sorry.
It's fine. It's all good. But yeah, and obviously we should mention as well, we've started driving activity to the Ninja Team Friends chat as well. And there's already some really cool ideas that I know Mod Edge has been involved with the Quick Prayers update that we've put into play already. So very important to keep that in mind as well. But yeah, as I mentioned, 6 days, the announcement happens. But apart from that, we'll leave you on that. It has been a pleasure. And hopefully you've been able to tolerate us as you've slowly seen us descend into a bit of insanity as the jokes and fun have kind of came in. But in all seriousness, thank you so much for supporting us as always. And we're going to do it and smash everything that comes our way. It's been an absolute pleasure, everyone. Take care, have yourself a wonderful night, and we'll see you around.